So I'm going to do another riding session with Dakota with the Western saddle. So I'm just getting her set up here right next to the mounting block. I'm going to click and feed when she lines up. Um, I don't really care at this point if she touches the cone or not. It's just kind of there as a little like visual aid for her to know where she's supposed to be at. So I'm just going to wait till she turns her head back, and I was like when her attention comes back from whatever it was that she was looking at, I just waited for her there, and then she touched the cone, and that's fine. She didn't necessarily have to touch the cone. I just wanted her attention to come back. That was the only requirement there. So I'm gonna click. I just didn't want to get on her while she just doesn't have her attention on me. So then I'm gonna click and feed as I get on here again, and I just want to do lots of clicking and feeding here as I get on, and not necessarily for getting on, but for standing still. I want her to stand still and wait for me. Stand still and wait for me, and like get highly reinforced for that. So you'll see a couple of times here, and then I'm usually just like a reinforce when I mount, and then I usually count to about 10, and then I'll click and feed, and it kind of depends on what's going on and like kind of how she feels that day, and I increase the amount of seconds she can stand still. So that is kind of the goal here. That time like she wants to walk off there, and I'm just gonna kind of flex her here. I'm not sure what I'm reinforcing her for there. Probably shouldn't be reinforcing her because she did walk off, and then I just kind of bent her to a stop. So for her, there, then I asked her to stand again, and I'm going to reinforce her for staying still. For her, I do bend her to a stop. Like, obviously, that is negative reinforcement. I'm applying the rein until she stops and stands still. But again, like, that's how she was started, so I feel like she has a little bit of baggage from that. Again, I'm just reinforcing her for staying still. So now that she's back in the standstill, I'm reinforcing that. Ask for a nice backup. That looks really good. But when I started her, I reinforced her a lot for going forward. And I feel like she still has part of that. And we did work on a lot of negative reinforcement and bending to a stop, and she's totally fine with that. And it works really well for her. So for her, we're going to add that in, and we're going to keep that. But for the Mustangs for right now, I don't really need to. So, but for her, we're going to keep that in. So again, lots of reinforcing for standing still. I want to make that the most reinforcing like behavior she's doing under saddle. So again, click and reinforce, and then I'm going to feed from the other side. I'm trying to be pretty equal with each side that I'm feeding on. And then I want to flex her. That looks really good. So she's just kind of at this point struggling with differentiating between different cues. Like she'll want to walk off. She'll think that a neck flex is a backup, and just different things. So I'm trying to be patient with her and work on cues on the ground, which you'll see some videos on that. But I do want her to stand still, flex laterally when I pick up each rein, back up when I pick up both reins, and then go forward and stand still on cue. So those are what I'm working on right now. Again, reinforcing for staying still. This looks really nice. And I think when she's walking off, it's just that history of walking off. That time I asked her to go forward. And so that's where that's coming from. Because with the Mustangs, I don't have that at all. So I think that's what it is, and that again, that's a thing that I created, so now I gotta fix it. But it's just like with every kind of horse training, like once there's like some kind of issue in there or something you didn't mean to train, it's harder to untrain it than just not train in the beginning, from the beginning. So that's what we're working on right now. So I'm having her touch the target, or not touch the target, I want her to walk forward, so I'm gonna have her follow the target, and I'm just gonna do a few steps here. That looks really good. So the other thing is I want to be really clear about when I do want her to go forward. So I started out with that handheld target so that she's going forward. I'm asking like with my voice cue. So her go forward cue is walk on. And then I'll have like if she needs that. So they'll be sequenced. And then I'll bring out the handheld target. And then she'll go forward. So I'm trying to make it very clear, like you go forward when these cues happen, and then you'll follow the target. If I don't give you those cues, like you're not going to be reinforced for going forward, and I just kind of bend her to a stop. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now. And then I'm reinforcing for staying still here. But when I am, and then I'm going to have her walk on the other side. So I just switched my handheld target to the other side. I'm going to have her take a few steps. She gets a little lost right there, and I'm just going to go out to the side because obviously it's not long enough to go in the front. And then I'll click and reinforce her here. But when I do bend her to a stop, I want her to completely stop her feet, and then I want her to flex laterally. Then I'll let go. Then I'll kind of do a pause. I'll ask her to whoa, and then I'll depending on kind of where she's at that day, I'll count to 10, 20, 30, whatever I'm working on, and then reinforce her for staying still. So usually when they're walking off, I'm gonna want to decrease that duration because obviously she walked off, so she was having a hard time with it. So I'll make it a little bit easier. So probably like 10, 15 seconds, and I'll reinforce her again. And it might be less if she's really struggling. So that's kind of what we're working on now. So again, rewarding here for staying still, asking for that lateral flexion. That looks really nice. And again, I'm just picking up on that left rein. So she already knows those cues. Like you've seen before, she already flexes under saddle to touch that handheld target, and then I'd pick up my rein before I did that. And then that's how we did that. And we did that on the ground and then under saddle. So again, walking forward on cue, this looks really good. Just a few steps forward. And then right now, like I'm clicking after she takes those few steps forward and then reinforcing. So I haven't asked for whoa quite yet. Like her standstill cue is also whoa, but because I want whoa to mean just like stop right now and don't move until I ask you to do something else. So I'm asking her to go forward. She thinks maybe touch the cone. I'm trying to show her the handheld target off to her right here. And she's a little unsure of what to do. There we go. Now she's starting to follow it. And then again, I'll use my keep going signal. So I'll tell her good. And then when she's kind of gotten a couple steps in the right direction, I'll click and then feed. And here you can see she's walking off again. I've asked her to stop. So this is my mistake here. I asked her to halt and then I'm reinforcing. So again, I'm kind of reinforcing that walk off too, because then she walked off and then I'm giving her a cue that she'll be reinforced for, which would be the halt and then food. So that's something I need to work on. So that's the second time I've done that. I need to be careful with that because that's just going to help keep that behavior like being maintained. So I don't want to keep the walking off in there at all for sure. So I got to be careful with that. But I am doing a lot of reinforcing here for staying still. So that looks quite good. Again, probably like 10-ish seconds, and then we're reinforcing again.
Good. Good. Nice job.
So I asked her to walk on there without the handheld target, and she did perfect. Like she's just going off of my voice cue. So that looks great. Again, click and reinforce her for staying still. And these saddlebags work fantastic because I'm feeding like pretty big handfuls so that she stays nice and relaxed. And it was getting kind of frustrating and annoying to have like a big like pack to put it all on that goes like around your waist. So the bags work really, really well. So again, a couple of steps off of my voice cue. And then again, for staying still. So I'm just telling her to walk on. She walks on a couple of steps. I click and I feed, tell her whoa, and then I click and feed. And that was a really nice little session. So again, I'm not riding her for very long. Like I was on her for like 7 minutes roughly. So just little short sessions. Keep it really rewarding, really relaxing, and just working on those same cues. And we're going to be working on those for a little bit because she understands them, but it's like putting them together. It's like not asking them in the same order all the time. Gets her a little confused. So that's what we're going to be working on. But I'm just going to untack her and call it a session.